I'm back here with Minnie, and in this video we're going to cover how we can use a martingale collar to have more control in the walk, as well as what I call the 5 tips to having a structured walk. Now, before I go through this, I'm going to actually give you a little bonus that I normally do, because it's something I spotted from the dogs. A lot of people confuse excited for happy when it comes to dogs. But excited, good job. The guardian was about to pet the dog that jumped up on it, and Monty is now not getting rewarded for jumping on it. Okay, so if our dogs are excited and we pet them, we're going to make them more excited. Or if we continue the activity, we're going to make them more excited. So a lot of people tell their dogs, you want to go for a walk? Let's go for a walk. You want to go for a walk? You walk away, and get the dog all crazy. Well, then that's going to be hard for them to listen outside on the walk. So the first stage is don't narrate. Step is don't narrate. That's not one of the 5 tips. That's just a good tip. And also you want to practice leashing your dogs up without going for a walk. That breaks the connection and doesn't make it such an exciting thing. Now the first step that I do is I walk to where the leashes are, which are actually kept right in this closet. As the guardian's walking towards it, the dogs are recognize, oh, she's going to the magic place to get the leashes, and they're going to run in front of her, front of the leader. Now, again, like I've said in a lot of these videos, doing it with one dog at a time is going to make it easier. So as you get up and walking here, as soon as the dog passes in front of you, turn around and go sit down and do it silently without saying anything. Dog's like, I know where we're going, follow me. Oh, I think we're not going for a walk. And they'll kind of come back to you sheepishly. And you wait for them to come back and wait for them to calm down, and then repeat the process. I had a guy in South Central Los Angeles. It took us 45 minutes of walking back and forth before the dog actually stayed behind him. So if you do this when you're actually trying to take it for a walk, you get frustrated. So do it at a time you're not going to go for a walk. And so once you get to, let's say this is where the leashes are. Once I get here and the dog stays behind me, and again, no retort, you just turn and walk away. Then I tell the dog, sit. If the dog doesn't sit within 3 seconds, then I would walk away and sit down. And the more that you pet with the purpose of doing the other things we've talked about, this should be easier for the sit. So let's say I say sit and the dog sits. Then I start reaching for the leash, and that's going to cause the dog wiggle and jump, probably for her jumping up. So I pull my arm back. Now we're going up that ladder of energy levels. 1, 2, 3. Well, if we keep on doing it, and she's at 4, 5, 6, 7, by the time we attach it, she's at 9. So right now when she starts, I say sit, that's pretty much a 1. Then I reach for the handle, and she's going to wiggle and get up, and I stop, and I tell her to sit again. If she sits within 3 seconds, we continue. If she doesn't sit, I drop the leash and I walk away and I sit down somewhere and wait for the dog to be completely calm again. And I keep on repeating this process. And at first I'll only reach this high, this far, then this far, then this far. And eventually I can touch the leash. There we go. The iWatch allows us to say, go to voicemail. It's hard to do that with a steady, that's why we have a steady cam. All right, so once you can actually pick up the leash, that usually also gets them up. So basically, stop and tell them to sit or put the leash down. So the idea is if they comply within 3 seconds, we continue the process. If they don't, we abort the whole process and go sit back down. Eventually, when you can't pick it up, jiggle the metal parts and make it as hard as a sound as possible. Then you reach down and you attach the leash. And then when you go for a walk, this is the energy that you have. If you go outside and your dog's bonkers, whatever energy your dog has in the house before you go for a walk is the energy they're going to carry with them on the walk. Okay, so now practice this. Try to do this like 4 or 5 times for every 1 time they go outside. In this house, there's some other people that help with the dogs. I would have them do the same thing, watch this video, and as soon as the dog shows any excitement, but the main thing is no corrections. No this. We tell them to sit or we stop doing it, and that's the only 2 options. And the stopping and behaving is what continues the process. All right, so Monty's like, let's go, I got a leash on me. So he's excited, but not super excited. All right, so now when I'm using a martingale, well, for dogs, whoever's in front is in charge. So if you let the dogs in front, they're going to be more reactive, more barky, they're going to listen to you less. So we have 3 dogs, which is a little bit more challenging. I have 4 dogs, so I walk 2 dogs on this side, 2 dogs on this side, and I give each dog a unique position. So have you assigned a side for the dogs? Right now they're in front of you, right?
I usually walk these 2 in my right hand and her in my left hand.
Okay, so the guardian here is a lefty. So she's going to be on the left side. So, and that's good because these are the better behaved dogs. She is definitely the wild card. So I'm going to do this now. This is a 4-foot leash instead of a 6-foot leash, and it's also a flat leash. You have to have a flat leash to do the special twisted leash for the martingale. The martingale collar is a special loop back here. So what I'm doing is I'm attaching a 4-foot leash to it, and here's the loop. I put the loop on the spine, I take the leash and I run it behind both front legs. A lot of people want to go between the legs. It's not. It's behind both, so it's in both armpits. And there's a loop here. Always go through the loop this way, never go through it this way. Otherwise it'll bunch up and it won't relax. And make sure that it's in our armpits. If you do notice you're losing hair down here, you can get a sock, cut the end of it off, and make it a sleeve, and it runs through the sleeve and it'll protect them. All right, so rule number 1 for my 5 rules for a structured walk is to keep the dog in position. I want the dog next to me, not in front of me. So I want her shoulder aligned with my hip. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is I need to have a relaxed arm. If I'm doing this, so she's pulling me and I'm putting tension on the leash. So I want to keep and what I usually do is I wrap it around my whole wrist, or not my wrist, my palm. So I have it as a short leash, but not a tense leash. I'm tall, I'm putting a little tension on the leash, so this is too much. So I'm going to undo this. I'm going to do just 3 fingers. The idea is I want to be able to, this is the only correction I need to do, just a very small hand movement. So rule number 1, stay in your position. Rule number 2, this arm stays relaxed. If you find yourself going like this, you're putting tension on the leash and you're going to cause your dog to pull. Rule number 3 is the correction for this is, I'll show you with this hand, you're going to go up as fast as you can and then go down even faster. Dogs have an opposition reflex. If we pull them, we will cause them to push or pull against the pressure. So we want to go so fast they don't have a chance to do it. I don't want to do it now because she's not doing anything wrong. I'll show you in a second. And so that's rule number 3, correct. And when the correction, make sure you're going straight up. If you let her go in front, when you try to go up, you're actually going back, and that creates more of a pulling forward position. So that's the other reason why we need her in that position. Rule number 4 is no stopping and sniffing on the walk, with a caveat. Now, a dog's nose controls 60% of their brain, and they cannot multitask. So if your dog is sniffing something and you hold up a T-bone steak, they cannot pay attention. But to say a dog can't sniff would be cruel. So we have a conundrum. So the way I've come up with this is I give on each block, I give the dog a 1-minute free time. So we walk. If you walk well, then I undo the martingale and I say free. And now you can sniff around, you can pee. I don't let them mark typically, but they can sniff the flowers or roll around or do whatever they want. After 1 minute, we put the martingale back on and we walk again. We call this a migration walk when they have their nose off the ground. So do your work, eat your meat, and you get a little pudding of the free time. And then the 4th one, I don't let dogs mark on the walk, because marking is peeing a little bit in a lot of places. Monty is a big marker in the house. And so we don't want her doing outside because that's practicing the behavior, but also everything between your house and the furthest point away that they mark in their mind is their territory. And that causes other dogs to mark on it. And it's them asserting themselves in a leadership position we don't want them to do. I've let the dog urinate or defecate before the walk, and at the end of the walk. If they want to poop on the walk itself, that's fine, but I do not let them, otherwise they'll hold it. I'm going to pee a little bit here, a little bit here. You're never going to go anywhere, and you're walking with your dog as opposed to your dog walking with you. Now, I'm going to kind of demonstrate by walking back and forth a couple times just so you can see the correction. A lot of people, when they're correcting the dog, they pull the dog's front legs off the ground. As you get better at it, you shouldn't do that, but it's okay if you do it at first. One last little caveat, and I am a force-free guy. However, if the dog decides I'm going to just sit down and turtle up and you're going to stop, well, then I control the walk. Luckily, we're in a nice part of Santa Monica where there is grass. What I do when the dog does that, and do this right off the get-go. If you set the tone right away, it won't happen for the rest of the dog's life. If the dog decides I'm going to sit down and turtle up, just go to the grass and just keep walking. Let your arm go limp. If the dog doesn't go with you, you're not pulling. The rib is essentially doing it. But you'll drag. We don't want to drag them as concrete or gravel or in Venice or something like that. They'll get tetanus shot needed in Venice, but they'll get hurt. And so the grass is not going to burn them, and they understand, man, she ain't stopping. But if you stop and the dog stops, the dog's like, I'm controlling the walk, and that creates problems. All right, so I'm going to just kind of walk an oval back and forth, so hopefully you can see me do it. So when I turn, I always keep the dog on my outside. And again, I'm going to do 3 fingers. That's the correction. And then I kind of go. Now we're inside, there's not a lot of sights and sounds and smells, so it's not as hard for them to do it. But if she lags from behind, I don't correct. I only correct if she tries to go in front. And if she lags, like I said, my arm is limp like a noodle, the rib does the work for me. Now let's say that we're on a walk and we see a squirrel or a really animated dog and your dog goes crazy. You have a lot more control of a martingale than you do on other leashes. Now she didn't like that. I'm not saying to do that for fun. I'm doing it for demonstration purposes.
So if she sees another dog,
If
gets
you
excited,
have to do
and
that.
starts barking, that's
Well,
what
we wouldn't do that for barking, but if she goes bananas crazy and she won't listen to you. When your dog's crazy, the best thing you do is increase distance. Sometimes you have to walk around a car, around a shrub. And so I showed the Guardian a focus exercise in a different video. So if you're walking on the street and you see your dog start lowering its head and staring and breathing heavy or holding its breath, or the tail goes up and they start going through the formulations that they're going to bark, well, get your dog out of there before it needs to. Just like we talked about the ladder, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I only start barking it when I get to 6. Well, if you get the dog out of there at 2 or 3, they don't need to do that. And so, and again, a lot of this is achieved by having a dog be calm before we actually attach the leash. All right, well, this is Minnie. This is how you can use a martingale collar and what I call the 5 rules for a structured walk with a couple added bonus tips.